Hey guys, what's up? It's Snake, and I'm back with an episode 2 to the Nazi zombie storyline, and we're here at Verruckt, and we got a lot to get through. So just as a recap, we got our four Marines fighting for their lives at Toten at the airfield, and they're able to break through, traverse the terrifying woods, and arrive at Wittenau Sanitarium, and it's now dusk the day after. And oh no, there's zombies here too. So what's going on is, like I said before, Peter was here. We know this because of all the crazy writings and things, and he must have sent out some sort of message that the OSS and 935 picked up, and so now they're both coming to get him. And it appears that we have come too late because Peter's not here at all. But as we go through the map, we discover that he has left notes for us. He's left crazy-ass writings all over the wall. And so, storyline-wise, what it looks like happened is that he gets here, and he's looking around, and some zombies come out. And so he tries to run and turn on the power, so obviously he can use perks and, all that sort of stuff, the traps and things. And the zombies get to him first and are able to bite through his hand. So he fights them off with one hand and gets through to the kitchen, boards up the doors, and takes the cleaver to cut the rest of his arm off so the infection doesn't spread. Which, of course, when we get to that room, Sam will laugh at the fact that Peter had to cut his own arm off. Or maybe it's just to add ambiance, I don't know. So yeah, and so he gets there, and then he realizes, well, I don't have an arm, and I'm bleeding a lot. So I could either just give up and die, or I could use the blood coming out of my arm to write a message for whoever gets here next. And so obviously he needs to cover all of his bases. He needs to make sure whoever gets here is going to know what's going on. And so he leaves, for the Americans, he leaves numbers. And the first number, of course, is 62438, which is written backwards. But it's the Chicora, Pennsylvania meteorite crash site. So this kind of hints at the fact that that Element 115 has made it to America, and that the Americans have access to it. So we know that both America and Germans, the Americans and the Germans, have Element 1. And then he also points out the date March 11th, 1942, which is the day that Franklin Roosevelt took the Office of Alien Property Custodian and made it to where he reports directly to the president. There's nothing else really on this date, so this obviously has to be what they're talking about. An alien doesn't actually refer to extraterrestrial stuff like Element 115. It's referring to German aliens, or not just Germans, but alien nations. So anything that they would come in contact with the Americans through course of war or annexation or anything like that, the Office of Alien Property has full jurisdiction over it. But now it has to report directly to the president. So maybe this means, maybe what trying to say is this is when the Americans discover that the Germans have Element 15 and that they're researching wonder weapons and things like that. Maybe, who knows, And then the last number that he writes is 921, which of course is a Bible reference, talking about death coming to our windows and all that sort of thing. Which is just a fun little thing that I think Treyarch threw in there for us to look up. And the other stuff that he writes is some of the other stuff he writes is in Illuminati now. But wait a minute, how does Peter know Illuminati? And why is he writing Illuminati for the Americans if they're just OSS members? Maybe Peter isn't a double agent at all. Maybe he's a triple agent. Maybe Peter also works for the Illuminati, which is backed up, of course, by the radio message we hear dated September 20th, 1945, from Call of the Dead, where Richtofen talks about Peter and Harvey being spies. He talks about how they're part of the organization, which maybe the organization he is referring to is the organization that he's a part of as well, the Illuminati. So who knows? Maybe that's what's up with Peter. But maybe we'll never know. Maybe we'll find out in a later map. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, there's a few other Illuminati things that are written, or a few other symbols that are written, but They seem to be numbers because they're written vertically. Um, and they're 14, 5, 13, 9, 3, or 3, 9, and then the last one I can't tell. It's either a 23 or a 24. It's unsure to. It's kind of hard to tell exactly what it's meant to be. Now, this could be nothing at all. This could just them be throwing Illuminati symbols up there just for fun, or maybe it means something. Who knows? Uh, we'll just have to keep researching it. Now, the other stuff that he's put up on here looks to be like drawings, and this, of course, the drawings is where I get the idea that he was trying to turn on the power, and they bit off his arm, and they had to chop it off because you see the saw, which is him chopping off his arm, and then right before it, you see a picture of his arm, and an arm, I should say, with Kilroy biting through it. And Kilroy, of course, is the little symbol, the little guy with his fingers and nose popping over the ledge. And it's supposed to show American soldiers that this area is safe, this area is okay. But it's obviously not okay because Kilroy has become a zombie and is now biting off Peter's arm. And the last two things that he writes, that he puts up on the wall, one is Hans in really big letters. So who is Hans? We don't really know. I'm not sure, at least. I mean, obviously he must be somebody. Why else would there be giant letters with his name written on the wall? So he must be somebody important. Possibly another scientist with Group 935, or maybe it's somebody that's connected to the Illuminati as well. We'll just have to wait and see on that. And the last thing, which is interesting, they write is about stretch receptors and something motor. It's hard to read exactly what the words are, but they're written up on the wall in several different places. And stretch receptors are actually receptors that are connected to the medulla oblongata at the back base of your brain. So it's very possible that this is a reference to the fact that they need some way to control the zombies. They need some way to tell them what to do and have them go and do the work, you know? So if we remember from other messages, Richtofen states, in Call of the Dead, Richtofen states that he feels the zombies can be controlled by doing research on their dead brains, whereas Maxis still believes that you have to use a living subject in order to figure out the complexities of the human mind and figure out how they're going to use it to control the zombie horde. So that may very well be exactly what Verruckt was originally intended for. Once Room 935 took over, obviously originally it was a sanitarium, and a little fun note too. The Wittenau Sanitarium is actually world renowned for its alcoholics wing. It was one of the first sanitariums to ever include an alcoholics wing. The Germans were very progressive in that sense, that they believed that alcoholism was a mental disease. So obviously all of the alcoholics were cleared out early on in the war, so they wouldn't have been here during the time Group 935 was doing all this research. So we got Harvey working on the DG2, the electroshock therapy, all that fun stuff. And obviously they're also doing surgery on patients as well as zombies, trying to figure out some way to control them. And like I said in the last video, that's something that's really important. They have this zombie horde, but they haven't used it yet because they have no way to control the zombies. They don't know how they're going to be able to be like, okay, zombies, go kill that guy, and not get eaten themselves. You know, because they're zombies, right? So how do they do that? And obviously the stretch receptors aren't working or whatever it is, because Verruckt obviously had two outbreaks, at least two outbreaks, that they couldn't control. Well, if we think about what Dr. Maxis was saying, how we have to use living subjects, and then we think about, too, how there's Sam, who has some sort of telekinetic power, obviously. She's able to move the box around and give you power-ups and drops and things like that, and send the dogs and all that kind of thing. Obviously, Sam has telekinetic powers. And obviously that must be why she's at Doris, because otherwise why would Dr. Maxis have Sam at Doris? Because it's clearly not a place for children, you know, with the bell and zombies, wonder weapons on all this crazy shit. I wouldn't bring a kid there, right? So obviously they brought the kid there for some special reason. And that, I believe, is the fact that she possesses some sort of telekinetic power. And he wants to try and use her to control the zombie horde. Now, the other reason why this makes a lot of sense, too, is, well, let's think about it. Knocked on Toten happens, and then they go across the woods and they get to Verruckt. And then after Verruckt, Group 935 captures Dempsey and takes him to Richtofen. And then Richtofen says in a radio message dated September 17th that he has the American. Then later, on October 1st, 1945, he talks about how he knows how to get rid of Dr. Maxis and that he's going to get rid of that little brat, too, referring to Sam. Well, that clearly must mean that Sam's alive on October 1st. 2 weeks, or 2 or 3 weeks, whatever it is, I don't know exactly how long, after the outbreak at Verruckt and after, the outbreak at Knockdown Toten. So if Sam's alive right now, how is she doing all the stuff that she's doing? Because we hear her voice, her laugh, we hear her demonic side controlling the zombies. Of course, there are no dogs yet because Sam hasn't been killed, and therefore Fluffy hasn't been killed and turned into a hellhound. The hellhounds have not been created yet, so that's why there are no dogs in the first 2 levels, because Sam's not even dead. The dogs haven't been created. So how is she doing all this? It has to be telekinetic power. She has to have some sort of telekinetic power so she's able to control the zombies. And that's why Dr. Maxis is using her, because she's the key to controlling the horde. And Dr. Maxis, being a doctor, obviously, dealing with a small child of 8 or 10, whatever, however old she is. What do most psychiatrists do when they talk to little kids? They use puppets, sock puppets or little stuffed toys like bears, like a stuffed teddy bear, in order to play a game. And I'm using air quotes there, if you couldn't tell from the sarcasm. But he uses a game with the teddy bear to get Sam to do what he wants. So she's controlling the zombie horde, but according to her, this is just a game, which makes a lot of sense too. And again, we'll talk about this even more once we get to Kino. But she's got that little playset in her room where the 4 characters are little dolls. So this backs up the idea that right now Maxis is making her think all of this is a game, and he's using her to control the zombie hordes. At least, that's just what I think. I mean, that seems to make the most sense, because obviously Sam can't be alive right now. Sam can't be dead yet, because according to the radio messages, she's still alive. Dr. Richtofen hasn't gotten rid of her. So, who knows? But we'll just have to wait until we get through more rounds to figure out what's going on with Sam. I mean, obviously there's got to be something up with her. She's still alive right now, and she's able to control these zombies. She's able to do all these crazy things. So she's got something weird going on with her. Something weirder than just being killed by Richtofen, or maybe not being killed, but being fused with Maxis, or who knows whatever else happens to her. Her being pushed into this sub-dimension or some craziness. Before all that stuff happens, she's got something weird going on. So Sam's a lot more powerful than we think she is. But yeah, that looks like it's it for Verruckt, and stay tuned next time, because we're going to be heading over to the swamps and figuring out what's up with the DG2 and what the hell happened to Harvey and all that other fun stuff. So I really hope you enjoyed this, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe and leave your comments and all that other fun stuff, because it's only going to help me come out with better videos for you guys. So until next time, peace.